We met, what, I don't know, 8 years ago. And we end up being friends first because she is right. Wilda is so funny and so creative. You guys don't even know. But she's the hardest working woman I know. She always tells me that. But a lot of the things that we have done together have really not only made us grow, we've talked about our kids, and we've talked about our families, our relationships, and what we have to do in order to be good leaders in this community. And when we met for lunch, well, actually we met for coffee, and it was basically about her creativity. And I didn't know she was that creative. I know she was all over the place in my office. You know, I'll say, well, what you doing? Oh, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. So she was always all over the place. But then I actually got to see some of her art, and I'm like, wow, I didn't know you had that in you. But that's one of the things that we talk about, is that sometimes we have hidden jewels, talents that we don't really put out there because the situation doesn't cause for it, or we think that it doesn't match with where we're trying to go. So what we talked about was today for me to come and share with you as a leader, not only as a leader in a career that is predominant man-oriented, as you all ladies will know, and the things that you do. I too am a motivator, an athletic motivator, not an athlete, but I'm a motivator. I can get you to the finish line. But one of the things that we wanted to talk to you today is I'm going to tell you a little bit about me, and then I'm just going to talk a little bit about leadership. We really couldn't put our finger on exactly where she wanted me to go with it, so I just said, well, I'll just talk like I always do. Well, I am the youngest of 8 kids, and I've always had this desire to just like do things differently. And because when you're the baby, you can kind of do whatever you want to do. And I do like it like I like it. So since I like it like I like it and I can do what I want to do, I pretty much tried to be a good kid. I think I gave my mom and my parents too many heartaches or anything like that. But what I decided to do is, when I started to think about education and what I was going to do with myself, of course, I wanted to be a teacher. That was my ultimate goal, was to be a teacher, because my 2nd grade teacher, Miss Turner, was the most fantastic lady I have ever met in my life. So I'm thinking, I'm going to be like Miss Turner. I'm going to be a teacher. But then, of course, you do that, and then when I started to notice that my principal was doing some things, and I'm thinking, if she can do that, I know I can do that. So I went back to school and I became a principal. But then I said, I know I can do more than that. What I'm going to do, I always am planning in my head, what's my next move? How can I make it happen? So I decided I would sit down with my family, have a conversation, and tell them, you know, I think I'm going to go get my doctorate so that my post-retirement I could work at a college. You know, and I can't do it now because I'm too busy. But I'm thinking ahead, and, you know, that would be really cool to give back. And that's the part that I really, really enjoy doing. So I did that and went back to school. Well, today we're talking about leadership. And unfortunately, I do have notes, which I normally never have, but Wilda was like, you gotta talk about leadership, you know, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll take notes. But one of the things I wanted to do is, I understand where all of you ladies are. You are stars in your own respective places. You're doing what really makes you feel good. What Wilda and I talked about was, as athletes and women athletes, not only do we have those barriers in the sports world, we have those barriers in the business world. But we have some traits and talents amongst us that we can transfer those traits and talents to make sure that we're dynamic in the business world and make it part of who we are. So we talked about leadership, and that's what I'm going to try to focus on today, is a little bit more about leadership and how we can take leadership and really take it to the next level of really making sure that we take our talents and move them forward. We talked a lot, I heard in the conversations, people talking about endurance, that what you do is an endurance sport. Well, to be a good leader, you have to endure, because there are going to be some bumps in the road, some flat tires, some waves that you didn't expect, some competitors who aren't always nice and fair. Of course, none of you ladies would know what that's like, but maybe you know somebody who's like that. But they're always going to be there. They're always going to be around. I know according to USA Today, I was doing a little bit of research, and they said in 2011, 98 female CEOs were in the U.S. out of 3,049 companies. Only 98 of them was female, and that represented like 3.2% of the total CEOs. And I'm thinking, really? Well, the good news is it was better than it was in 2009, because in 2009 it was 2.9% female CEOs. Well, I think that the women in this room have the ability to be leaders in whatever you decide to be, whether it's your business, whether it's starting a new club. I commend you definitely of taking that on your initiative to make that happen and expand what you're doing to share that with other women. One of the things that I talked about is that oftentimes women, not the women in this room, but we sometimes self-doubt. We had this conversation this morning. Number love for you. But we had this conversation. You have a little self-doubt when things start to happen and it don't go as smoothly as you think that it should have gone. So you start to think, well, oh God, can I really pull this off? Is this really gonna work? What am I gonna do? You know, who's gonna be looking? They're gonna say this or they're gonna say that. What's gonna happen? Well, I would submit to you that today I was asked to share my story, so I'm just going to tell you how I would deal with it, because I can talk about me, and I can be upfront and honest about me, and I can keep it real with myself. And keeping it real is something that a lot of women don't do well. Not any of the women in this room, but I'm just saying in general, because we got to keep the smile on, you got to be pleasant all the time, you got to act like you got it together, because you can't let these dudes see that you don't have it together. So, you have to make sure that you act the part. Well, then I tease all the time, because I tell her all the time, I'm like, how's my tiara today? Because, in my house, I'm the queen. In my office, I'm the queen. Wherever I go, I'm the queen. And it's not being arrogant, it's just a matter of fact. If you are the queen, then you act like the queen. And I started wearing my corporate diva shirt. I have a shirt that says corporate diva. So I started to be a diva, but it didn't match. So I said, well, I can't do that. I thought Wilder would be all over me. I come in out uncoordinated. That is just not my style. But you have to do these things for yourself. You got to have an attitude of gratitude. When you have that attitude of gratitude, it really does make your whole posture and everything flow differently. It really makes you flow differently. A lot of times when we have those self-doubt moments, that's when I remind myself to have what I call a mirror moment. That's that moment when you just got to kind of look yourself in the mirror and say, you know what? You are deserving. I do have the talent. I may not know, but I can figure it out. And I have enough resources to bring them all together to make it happen, and know that I know is really what I know. One of the things we do in leadership, and one of the issues that keep us from moving forward, is that we have always made sure we operate under the golden rule. Treat others like you would like to be treated. We all learned that, right? We all learned that. We all learned all of the things we need to do in life. We learned in kindergarten: no hitting, no biting, no spitting, no fighting. Be nice, no sand throwing, all of those good things. Well, I submit to you that that's part of our issue, treating others like we would like to be treated. Most of the time, it's not about you. So people treat you the way that they want to be treated, not the way that you want to be treated. So I would say treat people like they like to be treated, not how we want to be treated, because a lot of times you miss the boat. Because we're thinking that, okay, I'm organized, I'm moving forward, I need this to happen. And when someone else doesn't operate in that same vein, we may miss the opportunity, one, grow ourselves, or two, help them grow. So instead of always looking to treat people like you want to be treated, start trying to treat people like they want to be treated. Lesson learned, my husband, love him dearly, the best guy in the whole world. And I'm thinking I'm being the nice mom, the nice wife. I send him some flowers, I'm feeling all proud. I get home and, I'm like, when you gonna say you got them flowers I sent you, He's like, oh, honey. I was like, how was your day? Oh, it was great. I was like, okay. When you gonna mention those flowers I sent you? Then we sit down at dinner. I was like, so did you get it? He was like, oh yeah, thanks. I got those flowers, but next time, could you give me a Home Depot card? What? I'm like, really, dude? And I'm feeling all proud, and all the ladies at work going, oh, that's so sweet. You're sending your husband flowers, blah, And he's like, honey, really, I send you flowers. I know you love them. A Home Depot card would make my day. So next time, just send me a Home Depot card. Learned my lesson then, he hasn't gotten a flower from me since, and he's not mad about it. But honey, on Father's Day, when he get that Home Depot card, it's like he had just won the lotto. But I learned my lesson that sometimes and it kind of took me out of my element, because I wasn't pleased that he wasn't pleased to get those flowers because I know how I feel when he sends me flowers. And he sends me flowers all the time, take me on great trips, and I know how I feel about that. So I was expecting him to feel the same way, and he didn't. So I would say to you, sometimes we talked earlier, I think Kathy had said, she's going to talk about networking and relationships and understanding the people you're dealing with so you know how to communicate with them. You find out what they like, and so that you can communicate with them. Well, I'm just going to do 3 quick little tips on what I think that can help us really bring out the leaders in us so that we can be more effective at what we're doing, whether it's the next race, the next company, the next baby, the next whatever you have in store for you. And the first thing is you got to believe that you can do it. Now, in this arena, when it comes to racing, you ladies, just listening to you, have all demonstrated that you have the confidence that I can do it. But I can guarantee that the first time out the gate, there had to be some kind of doubt. Can I really do this? Am I trained enough? Am I skilled enough? Am I gonna make it the whole way? Well, you have to believe that you can do it. Same thing with leadership. This organization needs some strong women leaders in it. And we have a room full, look at all the potential you got around here. We have a room full of women who definitely hold all of those talents that you can help move this organization to the next level. There is no way that we should have a board in this many talented women with no women on the board. We do bring a different view to the boardroom, no matter how loving and kind, because my husband is the best, as I'm sure yours are too. And the men who lead us in various activities, but they can't do it from a woman's perspective. They just can't. I think Wilda said earlier that something, but he's not a man or something, or she's not a girl or whatever she said. She's right. They don't have our perspective. And I think that having a woman's perspective on whatever level, it really does bring something different to the forefront. Now, whether you have the savviness to make it happen, it's all about the know-how. Because we've talked about how, you know, you go into a different arena. Wilda had never been in this arena before she met her husband and really got this heavily engaged. And it could be intimidating. Maybe not for her. But for me, if I would have came in here with all these athlete women and I'm thinking, oh, Lord, what am I going to do? It could be intimidating. But as the circle, my group, I was in this circle, as we talk, you never let them see you sweat. I walked in this room just like I belong, you know, and that's what we have to do, walk in that boardroom just like we belong. But there's a way that you do that. Because I have my tiara, I must be the queen. So I can walk in there with the savviness without being arrogant and get the point across. And many times, those of us who are athletes, way back, like before 2 kids ago, when I used to do some running, those of us who really have leadership roles, we know that we have a determination and the tenacity to make some things happen. And we do. We have to position ourselves differently. You know, whether it's going to the meeting and having a meeting with a gentleman with whom you're trying to close a deal with. And I have to use my experiences because those are the ones I know best. And as a business owner working in economic development, I will share with you, 12 years when I got into this business, I would walk into a conference of maybe 300-400 economic development practitioners just in the state of Florida. On one hand, I can count the African Americans. On 2 fingers, I can count the female African Americans. And that one included me too. That was me included. And I'm thinking, and this is a whole industry about economic development, business development, entrepreneur development. Wow, look at this. And when I just speak specifically to the women in the room, we would have board meetings, and I've sat on the board at the state level, probably about 6 years, because I wasn't quiet. You know how you can't be quiet, you have to insert yourself into the conversation, and I always sit at the table with all of the guys because we have a tendency as ladies to see a lady over there, oh, she's by herself, let me sit. And no, you go whisper to her and say, okay, now, it's 3 of us in this room. You work that corner, I'm gonna work this corner, you work that corner. And that's how you get in there and you penetrate, and then you meet up afterwards and you say, hey, what'd you hear? What'd I hear? You know, because one of the things we are not very good at, maybe nobody in this room, because I know you ladies are all team oriented, but women are not very good at supporting each other and helping each other find opportunities. Good leaders don't do that. Good leaders look for other good leaders and say, okay, now, how are we going to tackle this room? What are we going to do to make them recognize and acknowledge that we are who we are? So I had mentioned like 3 different women. We all probably know a woman who I call the knockoff woman. We all know what a knockoff is. It's fake and it's phony, but it look good. It look good. You know, you walk in with that knockoff purse on and you're looking good, you know, and you look a little closer and that coach start looking real nice and, Kelly, where'd you get that coach from? And you can examine the coach and you realize the coach is a roach. Not quite what you bargained for. Well, we got some women like that. They look good, talk a good game, but when it's time to get down in the weeds and get dirty, they're ghost. So you got to be mindful. You got to examine the playground and make sure that you're not dealing with any knockoffs. Because a knockoff will get you going until it's time to get tested. Because you know, you pull on that roach too long, the arm gonna break off, the zipper no longer works. So you have to be mindful of that. And then I talked about another woman, the put-off woman. Well, you know I didn't get the job because they gave it to a guy. Well, you know the only reason that they didn't do it for me is because they're intimidated by me because I'm, one, too strong of a woman for them. They can't handle me. So I'm going to put off all of my shortcomings on somebody else. That's the one, every time you walk in the room, you know, well, didn't I have the speaker didn't come today? I don't know, how this is going to turn out? I always got something to put off on someone else that's negative. That put off woman, watch out for her. Because you know why? Because if she's putting her bad, mediocre activities off on you, then when you're not around, she's including you in those bad, mediocre activities that didn't get her where you wanted to be. Instead, you want to be the one that says, well, we didn't have a speaker. Well, then I text yesterday, and she was like, oh, my speaker can't come. I said, no problem. I'll talk until the cows come home. You know? I was like, I'll talk till the cows come home. I got you. And then she texted me back and said, you're the best. I said, no problem. That's what friends are for. I mean, that's what you do. She would invite me again to be in the presence of such wonderful women because I stepped up to the plate. I didn't say, oh, shit, now, I forgot we was on camera. Sorry. My tiara was a little tilted then. Every now and then it tilts to the side, but I'm back together. But you know, yeah. But, you know, I'm keeping it real. You know what I mean? Because that's what we have to do as women. Because I can sit down and have dinner with the president and have done with 3 of them. Or I can go take my shoes off, get down and dirty, and feed the homeless and do whatever I need to do. It does not matter. Whatever the cause, I can step up to the plate. You ladies have the abilities to step up to the plate, whether it's sitting down, being the CEO of your own company, or embracing an organization in a multi-million-dollar budget that impacts all of what we do, or if it's just giving back to St. Anthony's to help some other person get the resources they need to have a healthier life. We all have that ability. And I'm going to tell you about my last woman, my show-off woman. You know, the one that walk in the room, and when she walk in the room, hey, Awilda, how you doing, girl? This is wonderful. I would lift my dress up, but we on camera, so I can't do that. You know, the one that has a dress that's shorter than her shorts and mouth louder than the music? The one who always has to be seen when she walked in the room? I can guarantee you she doesn't have a tiara, because a queen don't act like that. If you are going to be respected and taken seriously, especially in a male-dominant field, you always, always carry your tiara in the room. Because I tell my daughter, my mom told me, that ladies are recognized, not heard when they walked in the room. You don't have to announce why I should get the job. I have to announce to you why I'm here. My mere presence should make you say, something about her is a little different. Something about her stands out. It's something about you should stand out in the room, and it should not be because you made a public announcement that here I come, everybody get ready, you know, roll out the red carpet. You know, that's not necessary. That show-off woman will get you what you really don't want to have. And that's a seat at the table that you don't want to be at, and a reputation that you can never get rid of. Because it's easy to get it. It's hard to change it. That impression that you put on them when you walk into that door is very easy to get. And it's a woman of confidence, a woman of determination. Some people are going to be turned off by that. But it's the way that you present that. You can be just as determined and eager and a fantastic leader, and will all come out in your presence. As a black female, and keep it real. I'll keep it real with you. You know, oftentimes, just because I am a black female, I get some things looked over, because I'd give you a key example. My office structure, my assistant sits in the front, then I have 2 managers, and my office is a little farther in the back. And many times people will walk in the office and, I need to see Dr. Johnson. And they would just instantly go to my manager's office, because that had to be Dr. Johnson, and I would walk out. And I'm like, oh, hello, you know, you're a nice looking young lady. Hello, and could you tell me where Dr. Johnson is? I was like, well, I'm here, what do you need? You know, and it's like, oh, well, yeah, you know, okay, there she is. But you know what? That doesn't bother me. Some people that would bother. That doesn't bother me. They don't know, way I see it, they don't know me from Adam Tom. Kay could have been Dr. Johnson. But it's all in how you receive it. I could take it differently, and I've had people to come in who wanted different things done. As women, they're gonna do it to us. Where's the boss? You can't. I know Heidi's not the boss. Where's the boss? Did you get that? You know, looking for the boss. Christina, you know, can't be the CEO. Where's the boss? Who's the person in charge? I trained my husband up well. Ask him who's in charge. Here she is. Good guy. Keep it, you know. But we get that, and it's okay. All it does, and I would submit to you that when we are women in leadership roles, the things that happen to us that sometimes, you know, may take us back are actually the things that make us sharper. When those situations happen, I never forget, my mother told me this once, and she said, you are a diamond. And people who are negative, they're just sandpaper. And the more they rub you, the shinier you get. So you let them polish you, because you'll never be dull. So you just take that energy and you polish it up. You know, do I have to call you? I got a question once. Do I have to really call you Dr. Johnson? I said, yeah, I kind of earned that, but in the office, no, we don't. You don't have to do it. But if you presented me on a panel, yes, you do have to call me Dr. Johnson. I did earn that degree. I mean, I'm the one sacrificing my Saturdays and family trips and football games and all of those things to make that happen for my family. So yeah, you have to do that. But I had to learn, I had to become comfortable with that, because I'm sure none of you ladies have ever had that doubt, like, okay, I've did all of this. I know I'm a good athlete. I know I can do it. But it's kind of like, okay, I can do it. Okay, I'm Dr. Johnson, but I'm not going to be boisterous about it. I don't want to seem like I'm being arrogant or what have you. And my husband said one day to me, because if you ever meet my husband, we'll do met Mr. Kevin. And if you ever meet him, he's like, this is my wife, Dr. Johnson. He uses Dr. Johnson way more than I do. But he knows what I went through. to get it. So he's like, honey, be proud. Like, nobody understands what a triathlete goes through to train, and you know, and the sacrifice and the commitments that we make to be where we are. So you be proud about that. And it's not about whether I think I'm the best athlete in the room. It's that you're damn right, I am the queen. I am good, and I am worthy, and I am deserving of this new role that I'm asking to be put in. But I know how to do it. I'm diplomatic. I'm not a put-off. I'm not a show-off. I'm one of those women who's willing to reach back and help the next woman do what they have to do. One of the things that has occurred to me is that, too, many times we don't believe in ourselves. Now, we put up a good game. Nobody in the room will ever know, especially leaders. Man, we can walk in there, I'll walk in the room 10 minutes late and you'll never know I thought I was late. I'll walk in there and sit down just like I was on time. We do what we have to do. But sometimes when we have that little moment where we go, oh gosh, can I do it? Can I do it? You have to believe in yourself. I know that Stephen Covey is one of my favorites. And because my degree is in leadership, I think I read all the Stephen Covey books. I'm Stephen Covey out, if you want the truth. But I never forget, he always talks about starting with the end in mind. I always start with the end in mind. The circle, when we sat there talking, I was just kind of listening a lot, but we always start with the end in mind, because you're thinking, okay, if I got an event to do, what is going to happen or what could happen? And you operate that way. When you start with the end in mind, these are some of the things I did want to read my notes and share with you. That Covey says that he has the second habit, and that is starting with the end in mind. And it's based on imagination. Your ability to envision in your mind what you cannot presently see. I can envision all of you ladies in a leadership role going to the next level. But in order to envision it is based on two principles, because everything is kind of created twice. You kind of do it in the mental, then you have to do it in the physical. It has to come to fruition. You have to bring it to fruition. Just like if you were building a blueprint, you was building something out. Your desire is to one day see that structure, and you want to see what you have done. As leaders and as future leaders in this organization or whatever organization you choose to be in, I would say to you, envision yourself there. And what does it take to get there? As you talk later with Kathy and she starts to talk about networking, I'm very strategic with my networking. Especially if I know where I'm going. If you're going to a big conference and you know it's some key people there, you can say, okay, today, by the end of the day, I'm going to meet this person, that person, and this person. And you make it happen. Okay, we can Google anybody now. Google them, get a picture of them, have your little sheet. Okay, those are the 3 people I need to meet today. Somewhere in that sea of 2,000 people, you might see them sitting down for lunch. Oh, time for me to go to that table. And you sit there, you envision what you want, you make it happen, you make yourself present there. One of the things that it's really will happen is that if you do that, you don't have to worry about being reactionary. You are then in control of your actions, which is my third point, is be active, not reactive. Don't wait for them to say, now, I know it's some lady, Deb or something around here that I needed to connect with. Because they might and they might not. But if you know that we are all looking to be in a leadership role, whether it's, with this organization, some of our charities, in our own business, in our own clubs, we need to know that, okay, I'm going to be actively and purposefully going after what it is I need to do. And then just do it that way, because reactions, when you react, you're basically getting what someone is requiring you to give them at the time, and it's typically what they want. If you're being proactive, you can pretty much dictate what they want. Now, they might not like my plan, but I'm going to come with a plan. Instead of you telling me the plan, now I got to go work your plan. I will come with a plan. I will share with you that in the time I've been with the county, I actually was a assistant principal at Bay Point and got a call from the county administrator. And he said, oh, I heard you're this young go-getter with the school district. Don't you want to come work for us? And I said, no. No, actually I don't. And he said, well, come have lunch. I'm like, oh, okay. So I go have lunch and we have this conversation. I was like, wow, this kind of feels good. And then he says, I didn't give him a good answer. So he invites me to lunch at the Don Cesar on the beach in the middle of the day when I'm normally at lunch duty with the kids. I was like, okay, this guy is slick. He's gonna take me to the Don on the beach when typically I am in a lunchroom full of 500 yelling kids. I think I love him. And he says, you know, economic development is all about relationship building. I was like, hey, that's my thing. I can do that. And he says, and we have absolutely no idea how to blend education and economic development. What should we be telling the employers? What should we be telling the school district that the employers need? There was a big disconnect. And that's actually why he sought me out. It's because I worked as a business partners with all of the businesses for the school. So I tried to get a business partner for every teacher and all of that kind of stuff. But there was a disconnect in the training. So I'm thinking, oh, okay. So he says, well, if you come in the summer, you can try us out. I'm like, heck, I don't work in the summer. I didn't work in the summer. And I'm like, you gonna pay me to do this? No volunteer stuff. And he's like, no, we'll pay you for the summer, try it out. And once I figured out that economic development was education and education was economic development, and I had a greater opportunity to reach more people and to impact the lives of the students in a more tangible way, because our business partners were the one with the funds and had some additional resources that can take the kids to another level. I'm like, oh, this is cool, I'm in. But when I went in with my plan. He thought it was, he said, you are something special. I was like, I understand you have four different divisions. I was gonna be there for 8 weeks. I wanted to spend 2 weeks in each division. Because he didn't have a plan, he's like, okay, cool. I like that. Do what, you know, have at it. Start with whatever department you want. And I'm like, I think I really like this guy. And so he let me go in. I did the whole summer, tried it out, loved it. And I'm thinking, hey, this is pretty good. Sue was in my circle group. And what did Sue say to me earlier? I always have plan B. Always, always. So I'm like, okay, this is really good. I think I'll take a sabbatical. I'm not quitting my job to come here because I need to make sure that I like it. So I did a whole year and took a sabbatical, did a whole year because I need to have my plan B just in case it didn't turn out. But it turned out 12 years later, I'm with the county. I do economic development. I run our business development center. But two things that never, ever happened or never occurred. So when you identify an opportunity, then you can help mold that opportunity, or you can sit back and let it be molded for you. With the tenacity, determination that this group has, I don't see you sitting back and letting it happen to you. But maybe nobody in this room, but sometimes we get a little intimidated when we're in an environment full of men who sometimes our voices are silent. you speak, but nothing comes out. At least you think nothing comes out because their reaction is just like you didn't say anything. And then 2 seconds later, the guy 2 seats down say, well, you know, I think that would be a great idea if we do A, B, C. And you think, now, didn't I just say that? Didn't I? So what you do is you say, you know what, Kevin? That is a great idea. I'm glad that you like my idea. How can I help you make that come to fruition? And you let him know, first of all, partner, I knew that was my idea. But second of all, I appreciate you liking it so much. How can I help you bring that to fruition? Because oftentimes we'll sit there, Kevin takes the idea, we'll sit there and go, well, I'll be damned. He took the idea. Now you have disengaged because you're ticked and you're missing the opportunity. I would suggest to you that you re-engage, compliment him for being so smart to take your idea and offer your assistance and see what happens. You never know. And I'll leave you with this. I have, my daughter is just graduated from Florida State in December. I'm a proud mom. She just graduated from Florida State in December as a civil engineer. Well, talking about a male-dominant industry, I'm going, really? Civil? Really? But towards the end, I never forget, she was doing her senior project. The dean had said, you know, Tashina didn't do good on that Calc. I think it was her Calc 2. She made a D. Oh, the world had came to an end. She was like, oh, Mom, I made a D. I'm going to have to get out of my program. I said, no, you're not going to have to get out your program. I said, go have a mirror moment and call me back. So she called me back later. She said, Mom, I already drafted a letter of appeal, and I want you to read it. I said, okay, so what's the plan? How are we going to make it happen? She wrote her little letter. They gave her an appeal. She took the class over. She made a B. But we all have those times. And she said something to me that I'm going to leave with all of you. And she said to me, you know what, Mom? I realize that I'm never going to let any failure go to my heart. And I'm never going to let any of my successes go to my head. Then I know that I'm ready and I deserve what I'm going to get, because I'm going to get this degree. She's living with me now, but she has the degree. But she has the degree. But I told her, I said, wow, you know, that's that moment when you think, wow, she's mine. I did that. You know, but you think, wow, that was so cool. And I think about that all the time. We can get full of ourselves and let things go to our heads. But then we can get beat up so much that it really starts to hurt our heart, where we doubt what's in our head. So I say to you, I commend you ladies. You are motivating. I told my daughter I was coming. She's like, Mom, you want to talk to a bunch of athletes? I said, yeah. Well, my daughter's an athlete. She plays basketball. And she played college ball. She loves the game. But so I told her, I said, well, I'll come back and tell you what Wilda's doing. Then maybe you could join her team or something. And I told her about what was going on today. But I say to you all have all of the tools already in your toolbox. The determination, the tenacity, the will to make it happen. Work those relationships. Keep your tiara on, girl, but make it happen. So I appreciate you all taking the time to allow me to come today. And did I talk long enough, Wilda?
Yes, you did.
Oh, okay. She was like trying to make it, yep. But thank you so much.
Thank you.